Welcome, everybody. Today we are going to be talking about extended disc in the financial services sector. So, thank you for joining us. My name is Amy Lipinski, and I'm a senior trainer here. And with me today is Marku Kopanen. I'm going to just guess at
That's a
that.
difficult name, Amy. Don't worry. Hey, my kids cannot say their own last name. So, hey, welcome everybody. Good to see you, Amy.
Yes, and those of you joining us, we are going to be recording today's session, and we do love answers, although because of our short time in our 15 minutes today, we don't have time to take live answers. So if you do have questions, we love to hear from you, so just please put them in our Q&A section in the Zoom webinar, and we will either get to them live today or we will follow up with you after our session. So let's go ahead and get started then. So my role here at Extended Disc as a senior facilitator, I facilitate a lot of sessions and we certify a lot of our clients in using the Extended Disc. And one of the things that many of our clients find surprising is how we can customize and tailor our assessments. And there are so many neat things that we are able to do. I call it splicing and dicing the data. Once we have those results, we can really reformat that data in any way. And our assessments are really unique in that way, and being able to customize not only the assessment itself, but we can also customize to specific industries. And so today's session, we are going to be focusing on the financial sector. And lucky for us, Marku actually used to work in our financial sector. So why would we have assessments specific to our financial sector?
Well, I think when we look at any kind of assessments, it's important that the respondent feels that the assessment report is really designed for them. If they feel that it's more general, they may insert what I call the excuse factor. For example, when we're talking about financial services, and I used to be a branch manager a long time ago, I'm not going to admit how long ago, but it was a retail banking, I was in commercial lending, and obviously in retail, I had a lot of tellers, and while they're in customer service, every teller that I work with, they had this feeling that, yes, I'm in customer service, but my role is a little bit different because I'm dealing with other people's money. And that's a very emotional issue when people are talking about their money, whether they have a lots of it or they don't have enough of it, or whatever the situation is, an emotional topic to talk about. So even bank tellers felt that, yes, I'm in customer service, but my role is a little bit different. So when we provide assessment tools to really any industry, in this case, the financial services, I think it's really important that each individual knows and feels that this is really designed for me. And even between, let's say, looking at banks versus federal credit unions, we want to make sure we use the appropriate terminology. So instead of talking about tellers, we will be talking about member relationship representatives, because that is a terminology that they use.
Yeah, and it's amazing how just that small shift in semantics can make a huge difference. Like you said, it makes them feel like it was written specifically for them and taking them into consideration.
Absolutely. And in financial services, and we were talking right before this webinar, I forget you used to work in this industry as well as a facilitator. But what I remember working in banking is that it was a pretty competitive industry back then, and it still is. And when we were looking at our competitors, we really quickly realized we were all providing the same product. Money looked the same. It was green everywhere. Our interest rates were practically identical.
Mm-hmm.
All of our products and services were the same. Our branches looked pretty much the same, except the marquee we had up front or the sign up outside. So really the only way to set yourself apart was with the people you had working for you. And the people made the clear difference. And if, like in the bank where I work for, we had these principles we call world-class service, and we were very clear guidelines of what we had to do. For example, when the phone rang, we had to pick up that phone within 3 rings. If we did not, that there was a mystery shoppers there all the time, we failed. So we did these things and we were very good at it. But what we did not do is we did not realize that our customers are different and we need to modify our behaviors. Our clients realize that, and when they're using our assessments, they are able to create that competitive advantage by the behaviors their employees practice every day.
You're absolutely right, Marku, because when we think about financial services, and they are dealing with so many different people. They're dealing with coworkers in the branch. They're dealing with the customers, clients coming in, and what they have to offer is the same down the street. So with the extended DISC assessments, and many of you who have been on our webinars before hear us talk about our 4 steps to effective communication all the time, because that's really walking through our 4 steps is what's going to give them that knowledge and power to apply and do something different to be more successful. And so we're going to just take a brief look at what those 4 steps are. So the first step is really understanding how people are similar and different. And we use the 4-quadrant DISC model to help us understand those similarities and differences so that we can apply world-class service to all of them, right? Our assessments are going to give us that information, that self-awareness and ability to identify our own natural style. So with these assessments tailored to the financial sector, it's providing tailored data then for each of the specific roles and the challenges that they specifically will encounter, and gives them also a better understanding of how other people view someone with that DISC style. When we move into step 3, it's part art, part science, mostly practice. Practice identifying the style of your employees, clients, or prospects. And having that knowledge is important so we know how best to modify our behaviors. So we know how to provide that behavioral roadmap, how we adjust our behaviors to interact and communicate more effectively with the people we're working with.
The great thing about the 4 steps is that here we always use it, whether we talk about communication, leadership, sales. So it becomes very easy to use model because you don't have to learn different frameworks, different steps when you go from one application next. So it's very easy for the facilitators, but more importantly for the employees who are actually putting those behaviors into practice. And if you think about banking or being a federal credit union or any part of the financial services sector, what we forgot when I was in banking, we had these wonderful guidelines that were very effective and were very successful. We're clearly known in the industry, I should say, that in the marketplace for having the best service. But what we did not ever really think about is that how do our customers or our prospects view the level of service? So for example, if you're a D-style customer, how you define what excellence in customer service is quite different. You want pace to be very quick. You want to just come in and leave the branch as quickly as possible. And that's what you need to do. And if the tellers, if the personal bankers or the branch managers recognize that, they're able to deliver it. However, when an S-style customer comes in, you have to take a completely different approach. You can still follow the world-class service principles, but you need to modify it when you have that understanding customers are different. You have that confident self-awareness. You identify the style of that customer and you modify the behavior.
So let's take a closer look then at some of the reports and how they are tailored then. So we'll start with the branch manager assessment. What makes this different?
Amy, I can't even tell how much I would have wanted to have this when I was a branch manager. That was a tough job. It really was a difficult job, but I enjoyed it and learned a lot. But there was a lot of challenges. But here we're looking at the branch manager as a leader of the pretty independent business unit typically. Of course, they get support from the corporate, but you are the captain of that ship. You have your own location and you take care of your employees and your customers. And the report really helps you to look at a couple of things. One is how to be more effective with your different styles of employees, how to make sure they are motivated, how you modify, how you influence and communicate with your employees, but also how you deal with your customers. And again, you're using that 4-step approach, identifying who you are, having that confident self-awareness, and then once you know what the other person, employee, your customer is, you make those modifications, and then you can have a clear plan how to develop your employees, how to motivate them, and how to become a more effective manager and a leader as the branch manager.
So I think you're absolutely right. I was never a branch manager, but they do have many hats that they wear. And so having this type of information can be so helpful in helping them to be more effective in managing their branch.
And it really saves a lot of time. I remember thinking, I'll probably never forget this. I calculated this. I spent 30% of my time dealing with employee issues. And the reason I spent so much time with that is that I was not effective. I had to try different approaches. I did something with one employee and it was like a miracle. It worked so well. I did the same exact things with the next employee and it went nowhere. Had I had this information, I would have been much more effective and I would have spent lot less time on those people issues. And I would have been a lot more effective with my employees and been more successful. So having this knowledge and having this tool will make it a lot easier.
So the next tool we're going to look at is the bank teller assessment. Tell us a little bit about the bank tellers in your branch.
Well, that's a challenging job. Honestly, they don't get paid that much.
No.
They have to do a couple of things. Actually, one is, of course, they have to be very accurate. They have to balance their cash at the end of every day. They can't make mistakes there. They're handling individuals and organizations' money, so they have to be very accurate there while providing excellence in customer service. And finally, most often, they also have to look for new sales opportunities.
And all within about 60 seconds, right?
That's correct. People don't want to spend too much time. Of course, you may have a retired person who come into the branch is the highlight of the day and they want to chat with you.
Right.
Most people always want to come in and out. Maybe they're in a drive-through. You have to communicate with that intercom system. So it's a challenging job, but this tool will, and our customers tell us every day, it makes it easier for them. And what also happens is that the employees, the tellers in this case, they are more engaged, they are happier, and what it does, it reduces the turnover. When I was in banking, the teller turnover was a big challenge the entire organization dealt with.
I think it also gives us that information when we're connecting with people on that personal level. It just makes for a happier customer.
It makes a happier customer, it makes also a happier employee because a lot of the interactions that the tellers have is pretty routine. What customers expect is good service, in and out fairly quickly. But when there's anything else, typically it's a problem. Hey, it's just challenges, problems that they have to deal with. How do you deal with angry or sometimes irate customers? This tool can help there as well because you understand where the customer is coming from, you understand what they're looking for, and more importantly, it helps you to have a tool to understand how you need to modify your approach to basically dissolve or diffuse that situation.
So let's shift a little bit and look at the financial advisor assessment. And these individuals oftentimes are dealing with people who aren't even customers yet, trying to gain them. And also with maybe married couples who have completely different styles.
Oh, I never heard that happening. so again, it's challenging because you're really dealing with an emotional issue, dealing with, again, the individual's money. But financial advisors are not only dealing with how much money they have now, but you're talking about their future. You're talking about their retirement. You're talking about their children. How are you going to have enough money for their education? Very important and very emotional topics. And successful financial advisors know that they need to modify their approach with different clients. And like you said, a lot of times it's couples. You have to be sensitive to different viewpoints, different preferences, different communication styles of two individuals at the same time. And this tool makes it easier. And once you begin to practice and use that four-step approach, not only do you become an effective financial advisor, you become a successful financial advisor.
Absolutely. So now we're just looking at tips, different ways to approach the DISC styles. And what's great as a facilitator is that when I was in banking, I really didn't know anything about banking.
How long were you in banking?
12 years.
And you know much?
A little bit seeped into my brain, but I really facilitated around DISC. And what's great with the extended DISC tools is that you don't need to know the teller role, the personal banker role, the financial advisor role. You need to know DISC. And the assessments all flow the same way. They all follow our 4 steps to effective communication. And the tips in there are going to be very specific and unique and tailored to those roles. and that will speak to them.
Yeah, the idea here is that it's going to be easy for the facilitator. They don't need to understand all the specifics with different job roles.
Mm-mm.
The assessments, because they are specific to the job roles, will take care of that. And that way you're going to have a easy time for the facilitator and effective time for the actual participants.
Well, Marku, our 15 minutes went by like that. So next week, please come back and join me and Wilma Stevens for our next webinar on Wednesday, October 30th. We'll be talking about the new up-and-comers, our Generation Z.
Makes me feel old. They keep adding new alphabets to the generations behind me.
And that will be at 3 to 3:15 Central Time. Visit us on our website at extendeddisc.org, and you can click on the top right-hand side of our website and register for the event. Don't forget to register if you're not able to attend live. That's okay. We'll send you out that recording afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. You click on that tab and sign up for the webinars. And like Amy said, you'll get the recording after the session.
So thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.